I said to the guys was that, I thank the seniors, obviously, proud of those guys. And anytime you're a first-year coach and you're building a program, there's a heightened level of sensitivity to the buy-in factor. You really appreciate guys who actually embrace the new coach and embrace what we're trying to do and try. And because of that, I also said to them that I do feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the fact that we weren't tough enough to come out on top in a lot of these close games. I feel like that's a coaching thing. I really do. Making free throws, and making plays, and tough rebounds, and all of that stuff. I think there's some responsibility on the players, but I think the lack of toughness, when you put it all together and look back at it, there's no question that it's a coaching thing. And so I don't know if you'd call it an apology that I gave him, but I did open up to him about that sense of responsibility that I feel. Tonight, great job by Wichita State coming in and taking care of business and getting the game won. We out-rebounded them in the first half, and then they had a substantial edge on the glass in the second half, and that made a big difference. 18 offensive rebounds, right in their wheelhouse, and they got to the free throw line 22 times, but we got our share. We needed to make some shots, but in general, we didn't have the requisite toughness that it takes to win these kinds of games, and hopefully we can find that next week.
As a coach, how do you add that toughness? What can you do to bring it out of them?
Be tough on them, raise the standard. I can't do that in a week, but from a program standpoint, it won't be a problem.
And when you think back at this season, how can you put your finger on how close you were in so many of these games versus the record? How big of a gap is there between those two things?
It's close. It's close. I mean, you're in those games for a reason. You're doing something right. What's going to get you over the top is more intangible, and that's what I'm speaking to when I'm talking about the medal. And I think that's what you're trying to build in your team. And specifically, we weren't good enough defensively. We just weren't. And we needed to be able to lean into that because we're imperfect offensively in terms of some of the pieces. And so how we are to mitigate that is through a level of toughness and defense and rebounding. And so that's an area where we obviously need to grow and improve. And even when we talk that language to them, they get it. We talk a lot about moving the needle. We use Houston as an example because they're the standard for toughness in college basketball. And on the far end, it's like softness, and we keep saying, let's move the needle with the goal of being really tough at some point. We didn't really do that. We didn't do that. We might have moved the needle some and got a little bit better in that regard, but we never became great in that way. Without that, we were going to be in close games and fall short.